Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and welcome to my review for RWBY Volume 4 Chapter 6, Tipping Point. Before we begin though, I was recently on the Vitalcast, a RWBY themed podcast from fellow RWBY tubers Portal64 and Puns of Damage, and it was a blast. If you want to check out the episode, click the link mentioned, as we talked about episode 5 and speculated on episode 6 heading into it. And as ever, while this review does have opinions, it also contains spoilers for the episode and beyond, so watch at your own risk. So last week we had a decent venture into new territory with Blake's family reunion at Menagerie, but after that episode flew by kinda quickly, did the mid-volume episode give us more to enjoy, or was it not enough? Let's find out. We open with good old Team Ranger, still on the dusty trail towards Mistral, and thankfully wise enough to let someone else other than RWBY hold the map, who actually underestimated the amount of time it would take to reach their destination, thinking it would only take a few weeks. Let's be fair though, she is still young, inexperienced, and only explored Patch and Vale, so she's not as savvy to the difficulties the group faced travelling as much as they have as her friends are. The slow trek does lead to finding out an odd sight though, an abandoned village that doesn't look destroyed, more like it was never completed. This, ladies and gents, is Oniyuri. No, it doesn't mean demon lesbian. As per the villages I mentioned in the past, this place also has a name that ties to flowers, and its meaning in the language of flowers can describe its role quite well. The Oniyuri can refer to the tiger lily, which can mean above a lot of things, wealth. So why does this name fit? Well, thankfully, Ren has actually heard of this place before. Basically an anima spin on Vale's Mountain Glen. Some wealthy nobles in Mistral weren't fond of how the kingdom was run, and so they sought out new land to make their own village, even a potential new kingdom that follows its own laws, a possible new strong future that, sadly, followed Mountain Glen's fate, the people dying at the claws of the Grim, including Ren's parents. Whether or not they were nobles too, or just common folk who also believed in the possibilities that Oniyuri had, they seem to have met their ends here by the sounds of it, and not just to some ragtag bunch of Grim too. Ren's quips seemed to give some hint that it was a single Grim that caused the damage, likely the same one that made its mark back in Xion. Fascinating elements from this scene for sure, and it's so good to see more to do with Ren and his past, especially with what seems to be one hell of a personal foe that is also a Grim to boot. It could mean we can put a pin in the theory that Raven's tribe had something to do with it, unless they are in control of the Grim. A scary and powerful ace up their sleeve, no doubt, if true. For now though, the Quattro see best to continue on for now, which lets us follow some angelic vocals all the way to Atlas, because it's time for the charity concert. Yep, we get to hear Casey singing as Weiss once again after the White trailer, and it's as expected to be a slightly hidden but still large "Screw You Dad" track. I'll save a deeper insight on the song until a full version comes out, but the gist of it sums up a lot of past songs of a similar theme. You don't own me, Dad, not anymore. I am no longer swayed by our higher class above others or your influence, and your negatives won't define me anymore. I'm going to control my life now. It's very powerful stuff, and Casey knocks it out of the park again with her outstanding voice, which makes me groan even more at the reactions of not just Jacques, but also Whitley too. The young lad clapping but with a tame approving look on his face, while his father simply just smiles, no doubt not even taking in the lyrics that Weiss sung, and only seeing the benefits of this whole event painting a better picture on the family name and himself. Also, does anyone else notice that there's no sign of Mrs. Schnee? Weiss's mother is nowhere to be seen at the entire event, not at her daughter's performance, nor at the after-party auction, nowhere. Is her seemingly alcoholic condition so poor that she won't even see her own daughter perform, or Jacques won't even consider forcing her to come help out with his ploy? We can understand why Winter isn't here given she's in the military currently, but that's still a striking absence to take note of. Weiss tries to shrug off her mixed emotions about this whole thing as we head into the auction, full of sharp-dressed men, glammed up women, drinks all around, and hey, even 3 familiar voices from Team 4-Star, with Amber Lee Connors, Kaiser Neko, and Lanny Batur all popping up at points in this set piece. And here we see Jacques at his most textbook insensitive and selfish best, laughing off complaints from foreign workers in his company, throwing his weight around with his servants for menial actions like getting a drink, and keeping Weiss as close as possible to himself to sell this United Family BS he's showcasing to paint a good picture for the family name. Weiss does get the chance to spy the beacon picture that caught her eye, no doubt missing her home away from home, her friends, and especially the freedom that Beacon offered away from her father's shadow. Shame the moment is ruined by a playboy flirt with stylish clothes and blue hair. No, not you, your Elysian form. Henry Marigold, voiced by Alejandro Saab, back again after dying back in Shion. Shitty Neptune here is a prime example of the kind of people who want Weiss's time or more simply because of her name. He even openly admits that he's not here for the charity, not even knowing what it's for despite a huge, glaring hint being centimeters in front of him. Nah, he's only here for the rich drinks and the richer women, passing this whole thing off as what he assumes as a mantle charity. One of many it seems given his comments. I guess Atlas's former capital is in such a poor state, it needs funding from its replacement, raised in similar events to this one with false emotions behind it. It's at this point that Weiss has had enough of Mr. Marigold, giving him one hell of a cold warning. Get out, or I'll force you out. Nice to see Weiss once more being considerate of others, regardless of class or who they are or whatever, and putting her foot down on assholes who deserve it. She really has grown over the volumes into a far more compassionate and grounded person who doesn't keep herself in a bubble blocking out the world around her. Shame she's alone in that approach, because right now she's in a hollow sympathetic show of support to Vale from people who are more likely just here to flaunt their looks, push some business banter about, and look down on the lower class. Case in point, this douche canoe, voiced by Felicia Angel, the woman behind Aoi Asahina from Danganronpa, Shinoa Hiragi from Seraph of the End, and Perona from One Piece. She has the nerve, the gall, to say that Vale deserved what happened, claiming they had poor kingdom defenses as if she'd know what they are, and good riddance to them. Doubt she'd say the same if she was from Vale or if it happened to Atlas, but nah, she's here enjoying herself at some highbrow event far away from all the troubles, and thinks she can say it like it's the truth without any backlash. So it should come as no surprise that Weiss finally blows a gasket. Compared to what a lot of these guys are going through or talking about, it's moot compared to the people who died, lost loved ones, and lost more. That is what should be the focus right now, nothing else. Of course, Jacques tries to step in, seeing this whole thing as just an embarrassing moment for the family, or more so himself, but with all these high emotions Weiss is venting out, we get an accidental summoning. A Borbatusk, likely the same one Weiss slain back in Volume 1 in Port's Lesson. Remember, emotions can get the best of you when it comes to summons and overpower you, and now Weiss has let loose a wild piggy at the trophy wife. Though as much as she may deserve it, Ironwood puts a stop to the grim. He does back up Weiss's claims before taking his leave, so nice to see that Weiss did make a good impression somewhere. As much as it was good for Weiss to finally get those feelings off her chest though, this maybe wasn't the right time and place for it. Cause you can bet that Jacques won't shy away from punishing his daughter for this public humiliation. We'll find out what exactly happens another time, as now we've got more fun with Team Ranger to witness. The four are still trekking through Oniyuri, hopefully with the map that they left behind earlier, but Ren senses something on the way. Not sure if that's his semblance in play or just a strong mastery of aura sensing, but regardless, something is coming, and it's time to prep for combat. Tyrion has finally caught up. The double-bladed lunatic wastes no time going right for RWBY, and even though the others do get involved and have the numbers advantage working in their favor, it's easy to see Tyrion as a handful, about as wily and nimble as Neo or Mercury, but with a lot more unnatural movements and viciousness behind every slicing kick. He's tough too, since the first good blow that he lands on RWBY damages her aura shield. It can usually take a while for something like that to happen, but this was the first real hit that Tyrion got in. So we can already see the gap in power between our heroes and Salem's most nutty assassin, who even willingly springs into a building just to add more unnervy atmosphere to this approach. Team Ranger at least get a chance to ask why he's fighting them. Of course, we know it's RWBY that he seeks to bring her back to Salem, but he does also mention that he's interested in Jean. Now that's odd. I mean, he may have recognized him in this shot for something, but why would he be interested in Jean? To the unknowing eye, he's just a common huntsman. But of course, we know that he's a bit more special than that, so there's gotta be a reason from two options I can scope out. Either Tyrion is familiar with the Ark family and its legacy of being great warriors, or he could sense Jean's high amount of aura. This sadistic, eccentric showman of a killer seems pleased when the others are prepared to defend RWBY from being taken away, likely being a fan of her struggle and all the possible fun he could have from a prey that fights back, and he again takes a commanding lead in the fight. Fast, agile, and switching from his blades to his feet with ease, only letting his guard drop when RWBY hits Nora with an electric shock. We didn't get it in the first episode fight, but we got it now. RWBY charging up Nora for a full voltage smash. That's blocked by Tyrion's scorpion tail. Holy heck! Tyrion is a scorpion faunus. Arthropod faunus are a thing, and this psycho is packing a deadly stinger that can take a supercharged hammer blow. The shock of this reveal at least giving Ranger some time to get more information out of their foe. The White Fang in Torchwick? Pawns in comparison to his goddess. We of course know he means Salem, but to RWBY, she thinks it's Cinder, a comment that Tyrion just snuffs at before getting right back into the thick of things, and everyone is getting rocked. Ren and Nora are up against the ropes, Jean can't keep up, and RWBY keeps getting her overshield damaged. It's time to call in some support, namely a now certainly confirmed transforming Crow, who is dashing in time to try and catch up. He has to hurry though, as RWBY finally has her aura shield crushed and is now prone to a lethal blow, like the one that Tyrion is now setting up with his tail. Note though that the dude's eyes changed color. Before they were golden, but now they turn deep purple, which instantly makes me think that he's using his semblance, thus the change. As to what that power is, I imagine it could be a poison effect in his stinger, likely wanting to stun RWBY, so whisking her to Salem is much easier. Imagine though if he can strengthen his poison into a lethal dose. Gotta be extra careful now around this guy, but it's almost too late for RWBY. The strike comes in, and so does Crow, blocking just in time to support his niece. And cue one hell of a cock-blocking cliffhanger. God damn, we gotta wait a week on this at least now? Okay, so let's stay with the final moments of this episode, because that last set piece was incredibly tense and nerve-wracking. Ever since Tyrion's introduction, I was curious what would happen once he finally caught up to Ranger, and I wasn't let down by what the dude delivered. A uniquely menacing and yet charismatic villain, Tyrion made for a crazy and yet terrifyingly threatening opponent to show off the insane power gap between the heroes and Salem's lot, and brought up possibly my favorite fight so far. I love how well the animation team made Tyrion move with such slick and yet uncontrollable intimidating force, and while he does like to boast and toy with his opponents, it does work as something fitting to his personality, a hunter who toys with his prey. A lot more aggressive than what Ranger has been used to when it comes to human opponents, and the twist with him being a scorpion faunus was wonderfully introduced. Another character that had a strong showing was Ren, who has really been top trumps in this volume now that we finally get to see more of his character, his past, and even his skills. He's perfect as the natural guide and insight to anima, even in its more darker elements, and finally getting a glimpse of his family's fate was a welcoming moment that let us see Ren be vulnerable again, a Ren like back in Shion, that's not at his most balanced, even if only slightly, to show the past can still hurt even this most mature of individuals. On top of that, he had another solid run in combat when he was often the most attuned to Tyrion's moves, showing off his expertise that helps him shine as more than just a martial artist with guns. That fight also had some top-notch music to help the nerves shake even more. And of course, when I mention music, I gotta highlight another gem of an emotionally tugging song sung by Casey. A short sample of Weiss's fullest feelings when it comes to her father. The Snow Angel has crossed a lot of hurdles since her debut, and seeing her finally take on board all that she's experienced to make a bold statement was a landmark for her personal arc, especially with the guest acting as a sort of reflection of past elements that she harbored. Snobbish, high and mighty, boastful, and uncaring voices all working in as a perfect breaking point to an outburst long overdue, and it should lead into Weiss finding the fire that she'll need to cope with her dad, who, while super detestable, does make me concerned with what he'll do to Weiss in return for the outburst. Could we see Weiss finally vent all her feelings over her father's treatment of her? Could she seek Ironwood for aid, or perhaps try to run away and help her friends? And back with the scene in Onigiri, could Crow finally stepping in, leading to him giving some information to his niece and her friends about the true villain that they all face, now one of her own has its eye on RWBY? For now though, it's time for the voice acting praise of the episode, and while I will give massive praise to everyone, especially Kara as Weiss, who had to measure up to Weiss's long built up outburst and did so beautifully, I do want to give this to Josh Grell as Tyrion, who was wonderfully gleeful and lively while still chilling me with his sickening joy in the hunt. A truly intimidating performance brought to life by Mr. Grell. Well done. And that's it for this review. A definite strong contender against the 4th episode for my favourite in the volume so far. We got an edge-of-the-seat fight with a surprising twist, plus a character who's rapidly becoming one of my favourites in Weiss, getting a pitch-perfect scene for a staple moment in her own journey. If this is the last episode of the year before we go into a winter break, it's a hell of an impact to sit on for a time. If not, it's still got me chomping at the bit, counting down the days for the rest to follow, if they continue this grand form that the volume has going for it. But that's my opinion, of course. What's yours? Was the volume's middle episode a gold star performance for you, or did you think it was not quite worthy? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed the video, like and favourite if you wish. And be sure to click the subscribe button and most importantly the bell to get new uploads as they come out. Plus follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan, as I constantly share anything to do with RWBY, as well as leave updates on future videos and other general nonsense from yours truly. Until next time though, have a good day or good night, and peace out.